Okay, what I'd like to show you today is how you can customize things in Storyline so that whenever you publish, it includes things like your Google Analytics tracker, custom JavaScript you've included, JavaScript libraries, so that whenever you publish, it repeats those things for you, so you don't have to keep going into the published content and customizing it there. I figured this out because I'm very lazy and I'd rather just do it one time. And so what I did is I looked in the C program files x86 folder. It's important it's that one. And I went to Articulate, 360, Storyline, Content, and then there's this folder called Dark Spider. So you go into Dark Spider and you'll see there's two folders. One is for the classic player and the unified folder is for the modern player, which I'm going to show here. And inside here you'll see there's some HTML files. There's index.html, index LMS HTML. These are the templates that Storyline uses to create the story underscore HTML5 .html file and the story with the LMS on the end HTML file. So what we can do is if we edit these, then every time we publish from now on, it's going to use our edited changes. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to go to Edit with Notepad because that's my text editor. And you'll see what looks like an HTML5, but there's some spots where they've put in, template fields like that, language and different things. But what we want to do, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put in my Google Analytics code. So if I come over here to Google Analytics, here's my tracker. I'm going to copy this. Google Analytics free. You can set it up in just a few minutes, and it's a little tricky to find where things are. But now if I come into here and I make sure I'm in the head section, so I'm going to scroll down until I see the end of the head section. I'm going to paste that right here. So now what I've done is I've inserted my Google Analytics script so that every time I publish in Storyline, it's going to use this script. Now, before we saw that there was also this index LMS.html, we want to also do it in there because that file is used when you're uploading to an LMS. So I'm going to do the same thing, come down here and paste. And again, I'll hit save. I'm in Windows 7 right now, and I've noticed that Windows 7 has no problem saving this file. If you're in Windows 10, though, you may have to come into the file, right-click, go to Properties, go to Security, and make sure that you have full rights to edit the file. I had an issue where it would say it was read-only, and so I had to come in here and change the settings. But on this computer, and I presume Windows 7, it doesn't care. Okay, so I've added my Google Analytics code down here. Now, I also want to be able to pass xAPI wrapper statements, or xAPI statements. And so to do that, I need to have some files in a library included every time I publish. Well, as it turns out, in the same folder, if I go into HTML5 and lib, and then I go into scripts, you'll see there's a JavaScript file there. Well, it turns out if I also copy the JavaScript files I need for xAPI, which are these two, thanks to Jeff Batt for teaching me this, you just need these two files to use xAPI from Storyline. So I put those in this folder. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to include two statements to link to those. So I'm going to copy that. copy, go back into my thing, and before the end of the head tag, I'm going to paste those in. So I'm going to do that in the index file. Hit save, go into index LMS, go to the same area, paste. And you'll notice that this is relative to that HTML5 folder. So it's HTML5/lib/scripts and so on. And so what that'll do is it'll link relatively to where that is in the structure. So I've got that there. I'm going to save that there. I already went into the xAPI wrapper. Ooh, that's because I moved it. Okay. So I'm going to say no. And I'm going to go back in here. Edit with Notepad. Okay. So let me make sure that this is configured for my, I'm going to look for config for my LRS. Yes, so here's my sandbox endpoint and my secret and key. So if you want to learn more about how this all works, go to Jeff's xAPI fundamentals course on Udemy. And that's, I learned all this stuff from Jeff. So anyway, go to Squirm Cloud. If I'm in Squirm Cloud, I can come down here to xAPI LRS, and that'll give me the Squirm Cloud endpoint. And then I've set up a screencast key and secret. So that's what I plugged into this xAPI wrapper JavaScript file. So I'm going to close that. I've done this. I'm going to close that. We're done with that. And then, okay, let's close everything. Okay, so now Storyline should be set up to where it will publish. So I'm going to come in here to Storyline. And so now one caveat with this, of course, is Storyline 360 gets a lot of updates. Every time it updates, it's probably going to put a fresh copy in those template files. So one thing I would want to do is, be ready to keep replacing that. But it's better than typing it in every time, at least for me. So I'm going to open a course that I've set up to use xAPI. And if that all works, when I publish this, I can even publish it to Articulate 360. So if I come in here, or review, Articulate review. So if I go to review 360, I'm going to create a new item and publish this. Published it all. And now I'm on Articulate 360 and I'm checking out what's going on. I'm going to inspect so I can see the JavaScript console. Okay, so a bunch of weird stuff that I think doesn't have to do with my code, but down here you'll see it has accessed the xAPI wrapper, which you'll see it uploaded to this location that shows up in the gray there. If I click on that, you'll see that it is accessing that from the site, basically. So we'll go to sources. Well, it's not going to show us. It shows here. No. Well, let's see. Anyway, believe me, it did load that. So we can go, let's go back over to Squirm Cloud and just see if by chance that came up. Go to our sandbox. And 702, Yes, Lucky Still. I've set this course up so it creates a random name every time. So I'm going to come back here. Wait, where's my course? I'm going to go to so Lucky Still right here. There's the name of my anonymous person. And hit next.
In this module, we will cover the following
Okay.
topic.
Lucky Still is now on slide 2. Let's go back to Storm Cloud. Oh yes, Lucky still initialized slide 2. So it is working. So successfully set up
Children's Mercy has established
xAPI wrapper so that when I publish to Articulate 360, it in turn takes all the files needed to go there. And the beauty of this is that now, until Articulate 360 update, every time I publish, it's going to include those libraries. And also, if I go to my Google Analytics, it should also be triggering that. Let me make sure I'm on the right analytics. Overview. Now, go to say content. One thing I learned about Google Analytics, it always defaults to showing the day before today, which I don't know how many times I've thought that things weren't working, and it's just because it's not including today's date. So anyway, yes, there it is. Well, yeah, that's it. So let's go to page title. Yeah, it picked up that hit. So also Google Analytics is working from my Articulate review publish. So there you have it. Again, thanks Jeff for teaching me how to use this very fun tracking method of xAPI, and let me know if you have any questions.